Well, I think what we're doing today is we're taking a little bit of a day off. I think people have decided that nothing much is going to happen until Korea makes its decision about whether it's going to apply some missiles close to Guam or not, and that is due later in the week next week. So we have time here for rhetoric. There's an editorial in one of the prominent Chinese papers that seems to be a warning to both sides, to North Korea, that if they initiate hostilities, China will not aid or assist them, and the U.S., if they initiate hostilities, then China will come to the aid of North Korea. So that's a warning. And then finally, I think there's a little concern here that the president may be boxing himself in rhetorically, that he's kind of got into the line in the sand kind of routine, that if they do something, you're going to be surprised. We're going to hit them in a much harder fashion than they believe. Then if something comes up and there aren't any military options, his credibility is a little bit stretched.
And so you have all that confusion and these kind of hard to quantify factors on top of a market that already was showing signs it was kind of tired, and there were certain areas that were really kind of a drag on things. So now you have this kind of cool inflation number. Where does that leave us here? We're in this sort of late summer period where sometimes it gets a little choppy.
Well, you will recall a couple of weeks ago I was on saying that in years ending in a 7, you tend to have a top emotion in the second second week in August, and maybe that's happening. But I think you're right. There were signs, there were divergences and other signs before that the market wanted to take a break, and I think right now they've decided it's probably not going to be a nuclear event. That's why we didn't get hit much worse, and I think they're going to try and drag their feet, assuming the next move is up to the North Koreans and nothing happens till nearly the end of next week.
Did you see the Ray Dalio latest posting on LinkedIn recommending 5 to 10% of assets should be in gold? There is this increased bid for safe havens this week in gold, in the Japanese yen, a little bit in treasuries. How do we know when that buying turns into panic?
Well, interestingly, this morning you had a move toward the havens. That has since changed, and you know, gold is not seeing the upward buying pressure that it had been. So I would continue. I've been saying this since the quote-unquote crisis began. I would continue to watch the safe havens. They will be your thermometer and tell you just how hard the fever pitch is going to build. For now, the fever is abated somewhat.
Finally, our people are circulating a story with the late Mike Epstein, a trader here at the NYSE during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Can you tell that story really quick?
Yeah, it's actually, I think Mike took it from me. We were very good friends. My version of the story was my dad died when I was a senior in high school, so I had to pass up a college scholarship. I got my education in bars around Wall Street, and tuition was paid in Scotch Old Fashions, and class lasted as long as I had enough money to pay for the Scotch Old Fashions, or if Professor Jack, who was drinking them, could stand and talk. Anyway, there was a very heavy rumor in the Cuban Missile Crisis that the Russians had actually pressed the button. I tried to buy some puts. It didn't work. As only an 18-year-old would, I ran hurriedly into the bar, and Jack was already there, and I said, Jack, the rumor was the Russians pressed the button, and I tried to sell the market, but I couldn't. And he said, kid, buy me a drink, which I did. He said, now sit down and listen to me. And I said, yes. He said, when you hear the missiles are flying, you buy them, you don't sell them. And I looked a little puzzled, and I said, you buy them, you don't sell them? He said, of course, because if you're wrong, the trade will never clear. We'll all be dead. So you want to buy them rather than sell them.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.